So, a warm welcome to you all on this occasion. So, it's an honor to introduce Professor Deepak Dhar for this colloquium. Now, introducing Deepak Dhar, there's very little one can say what has already not been said. A huge number of awards, his contributions to science. So, I'll just say one or two sentences about something which is not often, it's not explicitly mentioned in an introduction. So, what Deepak Dhar will be talking about is work done with one of the PhD students in ISAR and also one of his former PhD students who is right now in IIT Madras. So, over the years, along with the scientific contributions, Deepak Dhar has also produced a large number of excellent students, and they are teachers and professors and researchers in large number of institutes of India, IIT Bombay, ICTS, TIFR, RRI, IIT Madras, ISER Kolkata, a CNRS director in France, and so on and so forth. So he has had an immense contribution also to create students who are excellent researchers and teachers who are placed in various institutes of India and places of higher learning. ISER Pune, unfortunately, does not have any of his PhD students. But, but, ISER Pune is a young institute. We don't have any of his PhD students, but we do have one of his students who are grandchildren in terms of students. So we have Vijay Agarwal among us, who is essentially did his MS thesis in IIT Bombay with Dipendu Das, who did PhD with Professor Dhar. So we at least have Vijay Agarwala. And on that note, and without further ado, I request Deepak Dhar to talk about earth spheres. That's an area which he will of course introduce, but that's really the spherical cow thesis of spherical cows, and that's important in physics, in biology, in chemistry, in engineering, earth sphere suspensions. So he's going to talk about the earth sphere suspensions, and I give up the stage to Deepak.
Okay, so it's a great pleasure for me, also a bit of sorrow, to give this seminar here now. I've been here in ITER for 7.5 years. I have been very happy here, and I would like to start by thanking ITER for giving me this opportunity to stay here and continue my work a little bit. And, if one doesn't continue research, then we feel that we might get a nervous breakdown. So this is to avoid the nervous breakdown. I think after I came from TFR, the altitude is in many ways much better than TFR. The climate is much better. The buildings are much better. The administrative staff is also better than TFR. And people are much younger, so that's also an advantage most of the time, because the older people have some their own hang-ups and following, but younger people have a different perspective on life, and I think I've enjoyed working with younger people. Okay, so talking about this colloquium, first suggestion was that I should speak about other work which I have done 20 years ago, Sunset Queens, for which this medal was given. So, but I have given a lecture like that earlier, and I thought this one was okay. So I didn't want to give a lecture which is a repeat of those earlier lectures. I thought I will instead did some work which I have done here, and which you might be able to endure. So that is what this one is about. This is the title is Approach to Earth Spheres, and I will explain what these are. But this work is done with R. Rajesh, who is not at IIT, but I have met science. And Anjane Kumar, he is a student here, unfortunately not here today, but he'll be coming tomorrow anyway. So this work has been discussed in a perspective article in Europhysics Letters and published last year. So this perspective article discusses actually a little bit more than what I will discuss in this lecture here. And I only focus on arbitrary question of state in this lecture. And you are welcome to look at the other ones on more related questions. Okay, so this is the outline. I will discuss what is the equation of state and Higgs spheres. This is a very classical problem. More than 1 were told, and people have been working on it. And what else? What new can you do in such a old problem? That's what I try to explain. So I will start by giving the basic phrenology of what happens in hard sphere systems. And basically then with melting transition and there is a glass transition, that's what we want to study. The classical approach for dealing with these problems is called a Mayer expansion, which is usually given in most BSc level textbooks in statistical physics. I read them and then I quickly forget how it's a complicated technique. This is a diagrammatic expansion technique. I will explain what are its limitations. There is some other related earlier work which I need to recapitulate, which is the Lee-Yang theory of phase transitions and behavior near closed-stack densities. So this is for background. And then I will say that what are the basic requirements for a equation of state. We don't have an exact equation of state, but we have some approximate equations. So what is a good approximate equation? And it will turn out that according to this requirement, most of the work done so far does not meet all those criteria. So I will try to do better than that. And then I will explain our proposal in terms of the heroes of the Cartesian function. Those words will be explained. And then summarize. Okay, so the statistical physics started with thermodynamics. Thermodynamics started with heat energy. So from that, people deduced these basic thermodynamic laws, and using the thermodynamic laws and thermodynamics in general, you can then deduce equations like Navier-Stokes equations, which can then be used to describe the behavior of complicated stuff like particulate matter or planes flying in the air or some such thing. But the thing which goes into these equations of hydrodynamical equations for describing behavior is equation of state. We need to know what is pressure as a function of density and temperature, even a mono component material. So, there will be some local density and temperature, and depending on that, the local pressure and how then these things vary, they decide how the system evolves. But thermodynamics does not give you any prescription for giving the equation of state. It is an external input for thermodynamics. But in statistical physics, we saw that we can tell you what is the equation of state given the interaction between molecules. So the initial purpose of statistical physics was to deduce the equation of state from the external material. Okay? And it turns out that goal is not really satisfied because most of the systems you cannot actually calculate in great detail and precision. So you have to simplify the problem somewhat. So the simplest system, there are many kinds of materials, there are water and alcohol and copper and either sugar solutions like proteins, polymer. These are very complicated. So people said we would prefer to find the equation of state of the simplest material. So I guess the simplest material which comes to mind is hydrogen. But hydrogen is actually not simple because it's a diatomic molecule and they have rotational degrees of freedom and ortho, para, hydrogen, and all kinds of stuff. So we say that, okay, hydrogen is too complicated, but monoatomic inert gases are much better as the starting materials for which you need, like, say, find and such. So I should work with helium. Unfortunately, helium has a lot of quantum mechanical effects. It makes behavior more complicated. Now there is research industry in the that kind of stuff. So people said, don't worry about helium. Let us take heavier inert gases. So the prototypical gas for these people want to find the equation space is argon. So that is what people use generally, argon, monoatomic inert gas. And for this system, it is sort of being understood is that you can think of argon atoms as sphere, and they interact with each other by something called some interaction which is repulsive at short distances and attractive at large distances. And that is a quotation from Kahneman Lecture 1. He says, all you need to remember, if there is only one sentence you want to remember, is that the atoms repel at short distances, attracts at large distances. So the Lennard-Jones potential, which is a pretty good approximation of the fair interaction with argon atoms. Okay? So I would like to say, okay, forget about all these configured stuff, let me solve the equation of state for argon. Unfortunately, it turns out even that is very complicated. So what people can do, they can take the Lennard-Jones interaction and they can put it on the computer. And nowadays you can get a pretty good equation of state numerically for argon or Lennard-Jones units. And it seems to work well. It's the kinds of behavior we expect the system to have. The equation which drives it, if we see the parameters of the potential drive. So that is what is believed to be true. But for a sure, it will be nice if you can actually calculate, not depending on the computer completely. So that's what we would say, that we would prefer to find a model where you can actually calculate the answer and not just depend on the computer simulation. So Lennard-Jones is theoretically intractable. So you can simplify it even further. So instead of Lennard-Jones, I will take a potential which is just repulsive. It is this epsilon naught A by R to the power minus n. It's a power law repulsive form. It becomes very big at small r and it goes to 0 large r. And can I calculate the equation of state for this potential? So the fact that you have put in this power law actually makes life a bit easier, because the equation of state earlier was a function of two variables. T is a function of rho and t. If you make this assumption that it's a power law potential, then the pressure becomes a function of single scaling variable, rho t to the power something. The fact that it's a single scaling variable is quite clear. Rescaling distance is like rescaling energy in this potential. So if you rescale both the energy and distance, then you get the change answer. So this is the functional part. And here there is an English in this potential, but you can, with the particular limit n goes to infinity, but it's called the Hughes-Fier model, where the potential is either infinite or 0. If the R is less than A, then it still goes to infinity. If R is more than A, it goes to 0. So that is called the Hughes-Fier potential. Okay? So then the pressure is just a function of the density. Well, temperature. This is the scale pressure. Here, scale pressure is P by kT. Okay. So Hughes-Fier problem has an undeniable conceptual simplicity, which is the main reason why it has been studied for 115 years. And still, an exact solution is not known except in one dimension. And for computer studies, the Hughes-Fier model has been called the Drosophila of statistics. So in biology, they use the word model in a different sense. What they mean is that there are all these kinds of animals. But I cannot study all of them. It's too much work. So I study only one, which would be Drosophila. And whatever happens in Drosophila, more or less happens in all other animals. No, which is true. It turns out to be, it's actually quite true. Of course, there are some details which differ. But at one level, this one particular animal which you chose is representative of all other materials. So if you take hard seals and study the face condition in hard seals, then you can say that, okay, other face conditions are a little bit more transmitted version of this. Okay? And so it is the simplest model which you can study, and because it has been studied by other people, there is some literature available, and so then I don't have to start from zero all the time. And so here is this Taylor coefficient from Einstein, which says you should make things as simple as possible, but not simpler. That is what Einstein said. But I think in some cases, it is actually not really right. If you have a very complex system, then it is necessary to make it even simpler than the correct function and make it an extra simplification so that it is understandable. To the level of simplicity, whatever you can manage. And so they are a little bit simpler than whatever anyone allow. Okay, so yeah, so about the spherical cow. I would like to make the point that, spherical cow isn't a joke or a bad word. But the usefulness of simple models in science is important because they help you understand the other stuff. And the way it is said is by Chairman Mao that you should learn to walk before you can run. If you cannot even solve the hard CS problem, there is no hope of solving the Lennard-Jones problem, and no hope of understanding hydrogen molecules if you cannot understand argon, things like that. Okay, so in the literature over the past 100 years, many equations of state, so Hertzian system has been studied a lot. Boltzmann studied this, Maxwell studied it, there have been a lot of papers of recently. And many equations of state have been proposed in Hertzian system. And actually there is a nice monograph in 2008, which reviews much of the earlier work. And they discuss 100 different equations of state for Hertzian which have been proposed till then. So why are people writing all these 100 equations of state? All of them cannot be right. They are all different. I think it just says that the problem is an interesting problem. And that the exact solution was not known, then I'm allowed to say that the solution were linked with represent that one or not. It's a matter of some technique. Okay. So, I cannot give a summary of all those 100 equations of state, but just a photograph of one of the pages from that book. These are the names of authors and these are the stations. There are many. And there are also the list goes on. I'm not writing all the 100 tables. So the equation proposed to give pressure as a rational functional density. They are usually of the form T by rho is some polynomial divided by polynomial. And the coefficient of this polynomial is chosen to make this P by rho as a power series, or if you want to kind of data for large range of density. So you adjust the functions Q and R to get, that shift. And this is the kind of answer to get. Van der Waals was earlier done. And in some units, these things are intent primary, Lehring, Guggenheim, Carnahan, Starling, this list also goes on, and I will not try to all that with this with them. But it gives you a flavor on the kind of work which has been done in illustration before. Okay, so most of these equations deal only with the low density phase of Hertzian system. And they are unsatisfactory in many ways. I will discuss this later, but we will discuss in the quote from all the 100 equations. This is what I will think. Okay, so but before we go into the details of all those equations and what's wrong with them, we should know what actually happened. So that is the basic phenomenology, what happens in Hartzier system. And the basic phenomenology is quite well established from lots of Monte Carlo simulations over the last 60 years, and it is given in this picture. So this is the density, this is the pressure, and also this is the density pressure increases. It's one of these things, being constant. It goes up, and then there is a particular value of pressure at which the density jumps by a finite amount. There is a first order jump in density, and then when you increase the pressure, density is increasing. Then you increase the pressures in infinity, there is a maximum possible density you can have because it's a hard sphere system, and that is called the closed stacking density. Because my units are pretty equal to 1. Okay, so however, sometimes what happens is that we can take this hard sphere system and compress it. Then you can increase, and the system will go along some curve like this. It will not go to the crystalline state, so it will go into some glassy jam state. Okay, so these systems are actually accessible experimentally. So there is another branch of this curve, which is called the metastable branch or the arching branch, which is a little bit protocol dependent. So if you change the way you are compressing or do something, then you can get slightly different graphs. And so it is not linear curve, but it is some curve. But we will discuss that part listing this, but maybe not enough. But so there is a metastable branch, which one can also access. Okay, so first let us discuss this crystallization transition, which is some to shape, where there is a jump in density at a fixed pressure. So there is a phase transition from a low density state, rho less than rho 1, to a high density state, rho bigger than rho 2. So for all high density, we get into this phase which looks kind of like this, theoretically. Low density is a real slide. Different molecules are not correlated at large distance, and there is a finite termination length. In the high density phase, it's actually crystalline order, and then the periodic crystal. Okay? And there is a sudden transition when you check pressure, then from this state to this state. And this picture I can draw without knowing any thermodynamics. I think that the boy eating drew it. Okay, this is a box. These are this two equal size. They are non-overlapping, I could tell you. And all allow the arrangements are pretty lightweight, and what happened in a physical configuration. And the answer is that low density it looks like this, at high density there is a periodic crystal each form. So that is quite surprising and interesting. And it is interesting because it is doesn't require me to know lots of complicated work. Don't need to watch more than and you can teach it. If a high school student can in principle solve this problem. That's it. Okay. So this question, the fact that there is a transition from this state to the state which is crystalline, has been of course known for a while, but what people did like you and Boltzmann or Maxwell, they said that, we can do this Hall's-Kern gas, but when the density becomes weak, then my approximation breaks down. But what happens when the approximation breaks down? They wouldn't say. I tried to read many of the earlier papers. They typically keep quiet about what happens in the high density itself. And it was only Edler and Wainwright in 1957 who did computer simulation, and they argued that the high density phase is actually a crystalline form. Okay? So why then? Because in around 1930s, Mayer had developed this series expansion, and there were all kinds of approximate integral equations for hard spheres, and they had a finite radius of convergence. So then what happens when the density becomes greater than that? They will leave the question unanswered. The reason was that at that time, unless you could prove something, you didn't want to make claims. So if they couldn't prove that the high density phase is crystalline, they left it unsaid. I only found one paper in 1940 by Kirkhead. Oh, it kind of mentions this rhythmic century of liquid. So some theory that's also guarded statement, but it's around there. Okay, so anyway, it was realized quite early around 1930 that low density Fourier series has a finite radius of convergence, but they never discussed the high density case. And Edler was given the Postman Medal for this work for 2001. It only computers to be able to determine that Fourier instead of calculated. So again, this problem is very good and a large number of very important people have concern. So, but then there are always people who say, but this is all spherical cow kind of stuff. And what is the experimental reality? So now this is actually quite recent, but there is nowadays you can do experiment with Higgs theories because you can make colloidal particles which are nearly spherical and you can put them in solution. And these particles are charged, but there is a compensating charge on the other side. And once they are more than 2 angstrom unit away, they are nearly independent, non-interactive, clean Coulomb charge. So there is no interaction. So these particles act like Higgs here. And you can put them in solution. And to see the confocal microscopic picture there, you can do 3D scan of the this is a 3D structure. And you can take one section and draw a picture, and then another section you draw a picture. And so this is one section. And this is the starting density. And this is 0.54 of the closed curve density. And you increase time, then they go from here to here. And this is flying, this is not this here. So the system relaxes. And these densities go to a crystalline state. This is very close to a Higgs transition as you can see. Okay, and the reference is given here. 2030. Okay, but this problem is old. So for the Higgs theory model, there is only one phase transition, but Lennard-Jones matrix has solid to the two-phase transition generally. But it provides a really good picture of correlated molecular structure across the Nelson transition. When the making of science, how do molecules they provide a good picture. Why am I allowed to say this? Because what people can do now, they can take Lennard-Jones system and run it on the computer and use picture, and then produce the picture using Higgs theory. And if I don't tell you which is which, and I just run the pictures, untrained person will not be able to tell this to you. So, if you are very smart and you have worked on this system for a long time, you will be able to tell. But that requires, training. Okay. So, in computer-generated melting in Higgs theory systems is quite similar to that in Lennard-Jones system. So, this means also called Lennard-Jonesium because it's an element, it's a hypothetical element for which the interaction in Lennard-Jones is predicted. Okay. In particular, it helps explain the experimental observation is research through in 150 years old. People started studying all these melting of solids when they noticed that for a lot of monoatomic solids, the entropy of melting, the change in entropy at the melting point is approximately 1 kb. So the result is known for 150 years roughly. And in this Higgs theory, you get this answer. You get the entropy of melting is around 1. So to that degree, it explains the experimental observation and it is relevant to understanding the real world. It is not critical curve. Okay? Calculation. So I calculated the entropy of melting. I didn't calculate the specific latent heat of melting, because latent heat requires changing energy, which requires the attractive sparks comes into picture. And so this model will not give good result for the latent heat, but it will give you the good answers for the entropy. Okay, different method. Anyway, then we just very quick short summary of the gaseous state. If we compress the system not very slowly, we avoid crystalline transition and goes to a non-diffusion gaseous state in which the maximum achievable density is less than 1. So if I take some box of gas and compress it, they go into a jam state, which from this it's very hard to go to a higher density. Okay, so that is called random closed packing density. In Bernal studied it a lot, and people subsequently, and it is less than 1. This branch is weakly dependent on the rate at which density is increased, and one might hope that a good theory of hard spheres may be expected to describe the equilibrium state as well as the metastable branch. Because there is a finite set of people who will say, oh, you are doing equilibrium statement, don't talk of the attenuation, that is for the other set of people in the other loop. But no, it is possible that you can also address, even I see the same theory can also describe class A, or it describe the equilibrium state. Okay, so now I come to this Mayer-Selig expansion. A classical technique for finding the equation of state is the perturbation expansion in power state density. So a very dilute gas, it is well described by the ideal gas law. Then you increase the density a little bit, then there is a correction to the ideal gas behavior. So pressure as a function of density can be expanded as a power series in temperature. And you can calculate order by order each term in a systematic perturbation extent. That is what the Mayer-Selig does. One doesn't go into the details of these things, but anyway, the potential, you write exponential minus beta u as 1 plus s, then write the partition function in terms of these s, and do some diagrammatic summation technique, and you can get explicit formulas for before, before, etc. As each of the terms is expressed as a multidimensional integral, sum of multidimensional integrals. Which you have to evaluate metal. So the coefficient B2 for hard spheres can be evaluated analytically in all dimensions. Higher order coefficients can be evaluated numerically. Progress in evaluating the coefficients was quite slow. I think in 2006, Crispy and McCoy were the first to calculate 10 real coefficients with also flow. Okay. Recently, using more efficient input of perturbation terms, Lindsey-Ward extension, and Monte Carlo sampling, Zhang and Petit have estimated up to 64 orders for all dimensions up to 100. So it's an approximate technique, but nowadays this computer power, you can do much more than you can do with analytical structure, and this is the kind of results to see. I don't expect you to read anybody, but this is the dimension, and this is D16, and it can be 32 before 2 is 64. Sorry? He said the finite radius of convergence. That can be true. So this has been taken from the Zhang and Petit 2030. So the problems with series-based, expansion-based technique, in spite of the very large amount of effort over the last 100 years, let's say, this approach has had only a very limited success. The point is, the equation is valid only in the low density phase. We don't say anything about what happens in the high density phase. It's worse than this. The radius of convergence of the linear series is much greater than the actual density as with the phase condition occurs. So the series will keep on working fine, and actually the equation will stop working. And you are not able to tell when the equation stops working. The linear series cannot even detect the onset of the first order conditions. And advanced series analysis techniques, so people have found very complicated certain differential path approximate and whatever Bohren summation techniques for doing the series summation. And they are of no help because the series doesn't know anything. So, using any high power technique on the wrong series will not work. And the proposed forms do not satisfy the expected similarity structure in the concept plane, which I will also explain later. Okay, so but anyway, we need to discuss a little bit about this B-Young theory of phase transition. This is 1915 Winter theory, which is it's a general theory to describe how phase transitions occur in thermodynamic system, sharp phase transition. So suppose you have the grand partition function of molecules in hardcore and long-range interaction in a box of volume V. The grand partition function is this partition function for V and P, Z to the power n, sum over n, and Z is the activity, it's called the activity exponential beta mu, and we sum over everything is the grand partition function. For finite, for a hardcore system, if the volume is fixed, then there is a maximum number of particles. So you don't have anything, the partition function is 0 for n bigger than something. So this partition function is a polynomial in Z for each fixed volume. A polynomial has large number of zeros, n max zeros. So, I took my unit so that n max is 1 in time v. So, the partition function is the product of z minus zi, where zi are the roots of the polynomial. And when you take the log, then the log of the partition function becomes log summation over log z minus zi, where are the zeros of the polynomial. So, the partition function is the analytic function in Z, but the log of the partition function develops singularities at the zeros. And then if you take the large volume limit, then the zeros become many and they become dense and we can condense along lines. And so the partition function is analytically, so now I say that I can say, this is a polynomial in Z, so I can take Z to be a complex number instead of a real number. And then this partition function becomes a function of Z, which is a complex number. And the log of the partition function is the potential due to charges placed at the zeros of omega, because this is the two-dimensional Coulomb potential due to charges at Zi. Okay, in the limit of large V, the zeros have a limiting continuous distribution. Li and Yang showed that in some cases we line 0 to continuous angles. As you change the temperature, the zeros move. And if the zeros pinch on the real axis, it gives rise to singularity. And this is a picture from Li and Yang's paper. These are the complex, they called it Y plane, I called it Z plane. In the Y plane, these are the zeros. And so when the potential, when there is a line of charges like this, then the potential will have discontinuities across the time. And so here there is one phase, and then you come here being another phase, then it comes here into another phase. So that's from the original paper. Shows two case studies, but these are speculative. They didn't show it, they were just, this is how we hope them to see. Okay, but by now much more is known about the so-called universal Li-Yang similarity. So if there is a line of zeros, there is an endpoint of the line of zeros, then one knows that the density of zeros near the endpoint has a power of behavior, and this exponent phi is universal, independent of temperature, depends only on dimension, and its values are known in 1, 2, 3 dimensions, but sometimes it's 6 and above, but in between they are not really known. So, but if we analytically continue equation of Pz to complex value, the closest singularity to the origin is on the negative Z, it should have the singularity. And in 2 dimensions, phi is known, in 3 dimensions, it's a numerical estimate, it is not exact. Okay, so the second part which comes, which we will use, is what happens at very high densities. So if you have infinite pressure, then density is 1 in my units, and it's a closed packed crystal. So Kepler had argued that, can you prove that it is closed packed? And mathematicians managed to prove it only some 20 years ago. The fact that HCP is the closest packing of states. Okay, but anyway, so suppose the density is not maximum, but it's 0.99 of the maximum. So what's the state of the system? So the simplest answer is that you just take the unit cell, expand it a little bit, then each atom sits in a unit cell, but it has a little bit elbow room to move. Okay, so how much is the elbow room? If the density is 1 minus epsilon, then it will be of the order of epsilon, because the spacing is 1 and it is order epsilon. The periodicity of the lattice will be 1 by rho to the power 1 by d. Okay?
Yeah.
And partition function per site is epsilon in each direction, and so it is epsilon scales as epsilon to the power d for small epsilon. Okay? So now if this is the partition function for small epsilon, I can differentiate with respect to epsilon, then there's pressure. So this will remove d log epsilon, differentiating with pressure, and d over 1 minus rho goes to y. These are rigorous reasons which is for the proves that actually it's not complicated answer, but it is rigorous, it's correct. asymptotically exact. Okay. So interestingly, this life is a bit more complicated. It was shown by Stillinger that actually what happens is that if you are not close packing but a little bit less than close packing, and you ask what is the periodicity of the lattice, the periodicity of the lattice is a little bit less than 1 by rho to the power 1 by b, which is what I gave earlier. This estimate. I wrote approximately equal to. Okay, so what happens is that you make a lattice which is a little bit smaller spacing than what you really want. Then you have many more lattice types, and some of them you can leave vacant. So which one you leave vacant is up to you, and that gives you entropy. So it is entropically better to create a lattice in which you have little bit less spacing, and then you put vacancies. Okay, so you can ask how many vacancies should I put in? And so there is a extremization you have to do entropy first type. And it turns out this delta, which is a concentration of vacancy, goes like exponential minus a by epsilon. I will not go through this details of this argument. It's quite straightforward, but we'll just keep that disturbed. Okay, but it's quite small. If epsilon is small, it is very, very tiny, but it is there. And so if I write the equation of state in the pressure equal to 1 d by epsilon was the first term, then you have a power series expansion. But in addition, you have terms like this, exponential minus a by epsilon plus exponential minus b by epsilon and so on, which are terms which are not possible in a tailored expansion. So I will not be allowed to make a power series expansion in powers of epsilon, because that will not work, because I know the leading behavior is the term of this sort, exponential minus connection. So the equation of state is not likely to be Taylor expandable near the close packing unit. It has essential polarity. Okay. So now we come to what we would like. So these are good behavior conditions on the equation of state. So it says it should show correct qualitative and if possible quantitative behavior at small density, large density limits, and phase transition. In the equation, if there is a phase transition, the equation should show correct number of phase transitions at roughly right places. It should contain some parameters that can be adjusted for different materials. In that requirement, it should be consistent with known series expansion result. If I know that the answer is rho plus 0.5 rho squared, then the equation should also remain at h1. Have the correct energetic structure and correct physical exponents as phase transition and so, in the phase transition theory, people worry a lot about exponents. So the equation should also show correct exponents wherever there are any. If it doesn't show correct, it's yes, sir. Well, let's go. So this is a hard, sorry. So small epsilon is density is 1 minus epsilon. Okay, it's close to the close packing limit. That's sort of the logic on the other dominant. But they are small, but if you just sum up these terms, you will not get the correct answer. The sum of all the terms here will not be the correct answer. If the series converges but doesn't converge to the correct value, then what they use? Okay. Yeah, and so either then helps you to so I'm saying that if I were to make an ansatz and expand T in powers of epsilon and do something, I will never get this behavior, which I know occurs in the system. This argument given by Stillinger is quite robust and, it's hard to avoid it. So I know that there is a term like this, and if your theory doesn't give it, then the theory might be wrong. This problem shows up in all kinds of contexts in different ways. Yeah. So this problem is very general and generic, and so it only points out to the fact that whatever happens in this model can also find similar behavior in other systems. What I'm just saying. Yeah. It's mental are also getting. Yeah. No, so sometimes these summation techniques are called um, ghost summations or different different summation, non-perturbative expansion. They are called in high energy approach. This is perturbative expansion and this is non-perturbative.
Picture this one part of sum and proving by knowing the fucking.
You can make a guess about them or you can produce a theory, but will you be able to get the whole series or you only the first term? Yeah, so that is the way it works. So, okay, so it should have the correct analytical structure and also describe metastable states if possible. And I would say none of the existing proposals meets the blue-coded constraint. It doesn't describe the small density, large density limits. It only describes the small density limit. It doesn't have the correct analytical structure. It doesn't describe the metastable branch. Okay? So we would like to do better than this. So this comment holds for all the 100 discussion support people. Okay, our proposal is the following. Better strategy.
See, all the things that you make, all the concept, all of them are king of it, perhaps.
All the 100 do not satisfy the blue-coded ones.
What I need.
Yeah. You know, it's, I would honestly say I haven't read all the 100 papers. But I think sometimes you can say somebody kind of partly addresses question, something in some way, but they are not satisfactory solutions. Okay? So a better strategy is to start with some parameterization of the density of zero, psi of z, and then pressure is just the integral of this density of the charges multiplied by the potential due to its charge, and you integrate over it to get full z. So here psi of z is a input parameter. So I will write the equation in this form, not as a Taylor series, but a series in which psi of z is a free variable function. Okay, and then choose psi of z so that it works well. So the simplest setting, the density of zero, there's two components. So this is shown here. So we will take, based on some experience, and I'll hear other people's work as well, not my own study. But the zeros are like, there is a circle of zeros on the red line, and there is a line of zero in the ellipse. It ends at a point here, and this circle of zeros has a center here in some radius, and the density of zeros on the circle is uniformly for simplicity. We are just taking a model equation of state and see how well it does. So that on this line of zeros, you can choose any charge density you want, but you can put a behavior of the density of zeros at the end goes like a power, which I'll put in that power so that we satisfy the end similarity condition. Okay? And uniform density along the loop. Then the pressure is a piecewise analytic function of Z in the electrostatic. So if you look at the pressure produced by this charge density, we have one function here and the function there. And that will be for small z, the behavior, for large z, the eternal.
Oh, you have to wait.
Sorry?
7 or
Huh? It is a, okay, I don't know, this is a theory called Fisher's theory of universal hardcore similarity. And there is some, mostly it is phenomenological observation based on some simple modern physical solve. And guess what? I think it has not been established rigorously except in some cases. Okay, but people can do a lot of numerical checks and it seems to work. Okay, so if we choose the line density like this, there is an exponential part, there is a power law multiplied by exponential, some gamma function kind of stuff, and multiplied by a series expansion. This is a well-behaved, you can keep finite number of terms, you can take many terms. Z star is the closest similarity and this is the waveform. Okay, so this is all we do. We are free to choose these parameters, this one, the radius of the circle, the density of charges on the circles, the position of these points, and like that. So consequently, by adjusting the coefficients C, B and R, we can match as many real coefficients as we wish. Okay, because I have so many parameters available to me, I just adjust them to get matching of visual coefficient for any choice with a. So if I have a non-zero density of charges here, then there is a discontinuity in the electric field as I cross the charge line, and that is gives me a first order transition. So I will get the first order transition. The position of the transition I will pick by choosing the radius of the second at the right place. You can call it cheating, but we are calling it guided by the observation. Can I produce a distribution which produces the behavior which I see? Okay. So any choice of B gives the first order fluid solid transition. We can choose the sigma right and we can get the Yin-Yang H similarity. And corrections to the electrostatic potential. If I take this term and I calculate the potential at very large Z, so then we due to all this stuff. But there is a term which comes because of the charges which are very far out on the left, which are actually of the form exponential minus E Z, which turns out to be exponential 1 upon epsilon psi. So they produce essential similarity by making some assumptions about the charge density tail on the left, large Z, negative. Okay. So I'm able to produce those funny essential singularities and adjust them to the swimming my injection. The density right is that whatever singularity we want. Okay. So the metastable branch. For our choice of H2, so now you have a potential here, but suppose I look at the electric field inside the ring, then the ring doesn't have a field inside. Because if I can only access the P of Z as a function of Z in this region, I will not know anything about this ring. Okay? So I can analytically continue that function, which is the same as calculate the potential in the absence of the ring. So I can calculate the potential in the absence of the ring for large Z, and that will give me the metastable branch. Okay? Okay, so one can see that by adjusting the position of the center and so on, we can adjust. So if I remove this, then, the large Z behavior will be log Z multiplied by charge on the line, which is less than the charge in the full system. So I put the charge on the line equal to rho RCP, random closed packing density. And then in my theory, for large Z, I will get the maximum closing packing density in here. So total charge is normalized by the volume because, with the charge in the electrostatic problem. Sorry, here there were n charges if where n is the number of particles. So you have to take the number of charges per unit volume and then it produces a finite value.
These are the
fictitious charges and in the complex activity plane which are defined by the zeros of the Cartesian function. They are just useful as people know electrostatics, so I just think of this problem as electrostatics in 2 dimensions, and then I can solve it much more comfortably. Okay, the severe condition done. So, okay. So from the observed value of hard spheres, I know ρ2 minus ρ1 is some value, ρ max minus this is some value, so I get C equal to 1. And I can adjust rho RCP, and so I get everything working. Sorry. So here is the summary. We have proposed an approach to generate the equation of state. It shows the first order phase transition. That is the first thing, which all the existing equations didn't have any mechanism to produce the first order transition. Has the correct similarity structure in the complex plane, can match as many coefficients as you wish, so shows the expected essential similarity in large activities, and can also describe the metastable state. Yes, sir.
Have been any stable first display that they can just play like that.
That's what that's exactly within the red map that I got.
Yeah. Yeah, so there is a connection, but I will not go into it here now. Yes, sir.
Right, because it's a contribution.
No, so that part is actually not well understood. I mean, of course, what you say is correct, but it has not been established theoretically that the low RCP is disordered. In fact, there are papers by Stillinger which should explain that this random closed pack density is not a uniquely defined concept and it depends on preparation protocol and stuff like that. So, what do you know, these uncertain ambiguities of definition, this problem is discussed. I didn't go into nitpicky. Yeah. So we have not discussed dynamics at all.
Yeah.
So, but what it says is that if you start with one set of configurations, you do not access the other set of configurations at all, and then you don't include them in the partition function sum either, and then you will produce this kind of defect. Okay, so one can say, can you do more than this? So, this is hard spheres. But one can try to do the same thing for Lennard-Jones-Young, where attractive part plus hard sphere interaction. And
Serious, just to see, and the structure, if you have to need to cross the giving on through the just one distance, so that's essentially the part of the thing. Yeah. Keep that configure the thing by hand.
Of course, the whole thing is put in by hand, but at least it works.
What do you, the sense that you have to focus something way, I think you have to solve that some other thing will forgetting for the so here, then the mere focusing that produce that what you have.
No, and the Wheeler coefficients are matched by adjusting the CIs. These terms in the C, these terms I can adjust to match as many coefficients as you wish.
Right, but singly to the face sun is not a similarity of the D by M.
Yeah. Everything is put in by, but at least it is working. Previously there was no coherent picture in which everything was there.
So you data function produces it you choose.
It has all these features which are together in one place. So it is some, yeah. So, but whatever hypothesis we made about the structure of zeros on the complex plane for hard sphere was based on other people's experiment, and the corresponding structure is totally unknown about the Lennard-Jones fluids. In particular, there will be two-phase transitions, and the density, the structure of zeros is totally unknown. It's very hard to do access numerically either. So this is interesting direction for future.
And pretty much had function. I mean, the function something that it's based upon this thing, but it keep the head. But is it like there any sort of this on the Libra?
No. So the point here was that we have enough flexibility and undetermined functions which you can put in to adjust and get the equation you like. If you want to produce this equation, I will start with a particular choice of CI which will produce that equation. Okay?
But suppose we do this, like, since state in lots of ambiguity or freedom, such that the world it does not change.
What is
suppose you need some points? Then can I add to what information we do itself, or the one thing that you want to take, it does not change?
No, so if I make 5 of these C's non-zero and we produce one with 6 state, so the 6th one will produce the same answer as 5. But you have to, if you adjust the 6th one to something, the previous 5 also have to be correspondingly adjusted. So one set of choice of 6 will be very similar to the one set with 5. Of course, there will be some difference.
You're taking poverty science, right?
Yeah, one can. So it seems like it is not very clear which orthogonal functions are useful. No, there is a good subject, but I couldn't think of any useful orthogonal functions to use here in this context. Okay, so then you can say what happens to other shapes, and it's very interesting. Other shapes, even if you take very simple things like 2 by 2 by 2 hard cubes on a cubic lattice, then it is known that they undergo three-phase transition. One, three. And then the structure of the zeros will be very complicated, much more complicated, and there'll be three-phase transition. And and also even in two dimensions, this was three dimensions, even in two dimensions, other people have studied this. This is hard hexagons, this is hard squares, this is analytically done, this is not analytically doable. But the density of zeros can be in areas, not in lines. There is some numerical evidence in favor of this, in which case, I can put in areal density of zeros in my formulation, but trying to determine those functions or fixing them becomes much more of a question and problem and not get done. So anyway, that is where I stop.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, Professor Zahar, for a talk. There has been already quite a few questions, but if there are some questions from especially the students before further questions from the faculty. So, okay, from students and non-students.
So if you use the Mayer expansion, you can approximately get the van der Waals equation of state. So that does show the phase transition, and that's in a slightly more complicated model with the Lennard-Jones potential. So why is it that just the hard-core interaction produces is harder?
Yeah, so van der Waals equation without the attractive part will not show a phase transition.
Yeah, but why is that easier than...
It's not easier, it is ad hoc assumption. Van der Waals made some assumption and it produced this. I mean, of course, I also made some assumption to produce the behavior I like. But it is ad hoc of necessity. It is not deduced from some first principle, but at least it produces a coherent picture.
Yeah, so nice talk as usual. Regarding this metastable thing, when you increase the pressure, continuously density increases. Is there a possibility that ever that density can become higher than the crystalline state?
No, by definition, the maximum closed pack density is the maximum possible.
Crystalline.
And you cannot go beyond it. You can just see the empty space after you put this cannonball packing. Then you cannot do better than this.
Yeah, so that is the HCP you are talking about.
Yeah.
But then there are other crystalline state where HCP is not there.
It is the same density. In this case, there is some degeneracy of state possible, but they don't have higher density. They have the same density at most.
Yeah.
That has been actually rigorously proved by now.
Oh.
Yeah, so a nice talk. So in the phase, this diagram, there is a transition at a particular pressure, right? Where it is the density is increasing without changing that, right? So does your model get that?
Yeah.
Because you have a line circle beyond which there is a transition that is happening. So where does that particular transition point lie in that particular?
Yeah. So this is a sort of. So this picture is produced as constant Z. You fix the activity. At this point in the activity, the density is determined by the electric field to the left of this vertical line. And here it's produced by the electric field to the right of this line. And there is a jump discontinuity in the value of the electric field, which corresponds to jump in density in the original problem.
Okay, thank you.
I had a question on you started with this picture of the confocal microscope image of the packing transition of spheres, in which the sphere had charges diametrically opposite.
No.
So you mentioned about oppositely charged as a design.
Each colloidal particle has a charge.
Yes.
But there is a compensating cloud of oppositely charged ions which makes the whole thing neutral. So each sphere has a charge but surrounded by a layer of oppositely charged ions, and the whole thing from a distance looks neutral.
So then what holds the packing?
These are colloidal particles suspended in water. The density is roughly the same as that of water. It's adjusted to be same as that of water. They just hang around. These are actually very easily accessible experimental systems. You have colloidal particles in solution.
Right. So this is basically coming back to if you want to crystallize something, you add some kind of a potential, electrostatic potential or so how do you, if you have a totally inert molecule, what is essentially resulting in the packing is just
No. So here what I wanted to do was to produce some nice pictures. It's a good question.
because this is actually leads to crystallization.
Let me try to answer it properly. So suppose I really want to crystallize sugar. Okay, it's an important chemical I use every day. If you can crystallize sugar better, people will be very happy. But then you don't want any contaminants. You don't want to first put in something else which you have to then remove. Here there is a solvent which is water. So I'm only producing pictures like this. I'm not trying to get rid of the solvent later. It doesn't bother me. Okay. But in real chemistry, if you want to study something like this, you don't want to put extra material which is a solvent and then get rid of the solvent later. It produces too much of impurities in the leftover stuff.
I just have a follow. So it is, if you say it is a center of a charge and the surface has an opposite charge, basically it is a
approximate image of an icon with the filter.
Colloidal particle is 1000 angstrom big.
I'm saying we are magnifying the identity.
It looks like that. No, it looks like it looks like a hard sphere. I would say not like a charge. You can ignore the charge. It's just a hard sphere.
Now the reason that I'm showing the thing works like atoms is because you have induction.
Yes.
Would you see induction in this kind of?
In hard spheres, the interaction between two colloidal particles at distance of 10 angstrom is negligible. Nobody says it is zero, but it is negligible.
But there are no more hard spheres because they have.
Yeah. The hard sphere was an approximation to begin with, but it's a good approximation. That is the point.
Look, so to continue the same figure, if there is not a solid sphere, if there is a liquid kind of a sphere, then what are the possibilities that we can see?
I think people have not done these kinds of experiments with liquid spheres, but I do know that in soap, you can produce soap solutions in which also there are micelles.
Yes.
And the micelles form a crystalline structure. These are non-equilibrium structures. So if you stir it, it will go away, or you have to wait, then it comes back. But it takes time. So, yes, you can produce similar crystalline structures even with liquid colloids.
Right. So if there is phase transition in the liquid that some kind of liquid is used for the assembly, so that kind of study is done, or?
I'm not aware of the study in this context, but it is known that if you take micelles at low density, they are gas-like in the sense they are uncorrelated large distances, and micelles at high density form a crystalline solid. So that's gas to solid transition is observed in micelles at some level of rigor. Some level of experimental people say that this is what I see. I kind of believe them.
So what kind of the packing is observed in such systems?
I think usually HCP.
Okay. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. I really enjoyed this and understood perhaps less than I should, but from your motivation at the start, and if I understood you correctly, you started with the idea of packing of hard spheres. Thinking about it in a larger context, as you said, it's an ancient problem, almost 150 years old. Given that in a lot of materials, especially biological materials, which are the exciting new things, perhaps, what hope do we have of understanding soft or deformable sphere packing now that you've somewhat approached the solution?
So I would say that the aim of all these exercises about studying model systems, constructed simple models, is that they help explain the more complex things approximately. So if you have a very complex system, you don't want to describe it in full and gory detail. You want to have an approximate description. So, I like to, for the benefit of students, let me say it like this, that suppose you are a doctor and somebody comes to you, I have a stomach ache. You don't go into what is your name, what your wife's name, what salary do you get. You only ask how much, what did you eat yesterday, and take these pills and you will be okay. Minimum, there is a need for a compression of information. All the irrelevant information you should not ask or answer. So if I have a very complicated system, what are you trying to explain? So if you focus on that, you will realize that all I need to say is that there is a possibility of a phase transition from a gaseous phase to a periodic crystalline phase, maybe. Then you check if it is true. The rest of the details are not really useful in the actual experimental setup, but they are useful to provide a theoretical basis for all your that statement. That, I have been able to see that in hard sphere there is actually a phase transition from gaseous phase to crystalline phase, and in all other materials it's very similar.
Yeah, Umakant here.
Oh.
I have two questions. The first one is about this arrangement of the poles of that complex function and its connection with the partition function that you would like to derive for getting.
So I had kind of explained it weakly. So here, this is the Lee-Yang theory, and it says that the partition function can be thought of as the potential log of the partition function is the potential produced by charges placed at the zeros of omega, because it's just a summation over log z minus zr. So you think of the position of charges at the zi and potential produced by them is the pressure as a function of z.
The second question is brings to the initial problem that you mentioned for diatomic molecules. Is it because the potential is not just radially symmetric?
Yeah. It has angular dependence, and I had to work much more. If one molecule is like this, another molecule is like this, the potential will be different than if it's like that, right?
But can't some statistical averages be taken to take care of this?
I think the whole point is that these are correlated variables. So, you can take averages if you know what is the input distribution. And the input distribution adjusts itself in a complicated way, which is what I'm trying to figure out.
Okay, thanks.
So, the question.
So, the way you have written down the final answer, there was a set of inputs and then you try to match that input, right? So, now...
So, I'm saying that, so let us still go to that one. So, if you write the equation for pressure in this form, then you can build in all the known good behavior conditions, and you still have choice about finding which equation you use, and it is better than all the equations proposed so far.
Right. So, if you go to the previous slide, these are list of good behaviors. Now, instead of hard sphere, suppose I take any other thing, I can list what are the good behaviors.
These are the same.
And then...
that will also be the same.
This will also be the same.
The psi will be different.
So, then psi will be different. So, this approach I can just use it to not to the hard sphere, any other thing, right?
Yeah. That is the hope. It provides a framework for...
So, all you need is the inputs that you need to know it precisely, right? That if you know, then you would be able to solve.
No, actually, I think it is slightly more complicated. The point is this. If you don't have the right framework for description, if you don't have the right language to describe, then you don't describe it right. This provides the right variables in which if you attract the problem, then you will get a simple and good solution.
Right. I'm saying now that you have this approach, then hard sphere is just one model. You can just do it for any other thing, right?
For different stuff, you have different psi. I have to guess the psi, or I have to put in some structure, then adjust something. And as I said, I'm not able to guess offhand for 2 by 2 by 2 hard cubes what is the structure of zeros.
Oh, okay.
It's not a trivial problem.
It's a small confusion, I guess. It's a D2Z integral and it's a complex number. Even the mod, this don't come as mods.
Integral over all area. And this is a scalar integral. This is a charge.
But these are holomorphic functions.
This is an electrostatics problem just now.
No, that ends in 2-dimension. Is this psi holomorphic or it has both z and z bar? That's what I
In
was.
this equation, I don't want to think of it as a complex
Oh,
function.
I see. Just
But
a 2-dimensional.
Z can be thought of as a variable, and if the region where I'm evaluating P of Z is free of the charge density, then it satisfies the Laplace's equation, and then it satisfies the conditions for the analyticity. Otherwise, it's not analytic. Sorry.
I see. So, but at some point you were doing analytic continuations. That's why. I was slightly confused.
Analytical continuation is to be done carefully.
But that's the final equation takes care of the induction loop when we say.
It actually doesn't. It is a framework for description, so you are able to get the answer in a way which is consistent with everything I know, and I can produce. If you give me different interaction, I'll choose different coefficients and match it that also. So it doesn't by itself have predictive value, but it has a value in choosing the right functions to fit.
Yeah, just one question. Does it predict any novel phase transitions that could be of interest to experimentalists?
So the phase transition was the old one which Alder had found, no? That's the only one we were trying to explain. This one. This is the phase transition we are trying to explain.
Hasn't been applied on.
The first order phase transitions are seen everywhere, and that's the theory of melting probably says that many of these are similar.
So we'll end. I think there have been a lot of questions, and there might be more, but we can go on. We'll end with the person who does experiments with Hatch spheres, and we take this opportunity to thank Professor Deepak Dhar.
Thank you.
Or